LaCanfora just set the DMV on fire, and if you're a Commanders fan and you're not already on the edge of your seat, it's because you haven't heard what just dropped. George Pickens, 25 years old, in his absolute prime. And there's an NFL general manager who told LaCanfora at Sports Boom straight up that this trade can happen, that Dallas has a real problem on their hands, and that the window for Washington to enter that conversation is not going to stay open forever. That's story one, and it's massive. But what makes this different from every other offseason rumor is what's happening inside the locker room at the exact same time. Because it turns out there's a player who already chose Washington, who left $39 million on the table, $39 million, real money, a formal offer, and he turned it down to come here. He said it lived from his car, no filter, no PR spin, and when you hear his exact words, you're going to understand why that changes the conversation about this roster in a way that numbers alone cannot explain. And just when you thought the offensive picture couldn't have another layer, a comparison came out this week from an NFL national scout that nobody in the DMV saw coming, a name from the Packers, a career closing in on 8,000 yards, and the rookie Washington just picked in the third round of the draft that made him think of that name immediately. 3 moves, 1 master plan, and Adam Peters in Ashburn connecting every single dot. If you trust the Commanders process, hit that like button right now and subscribe to join the real Commander Nation. Because this thing is already moving, because this isn't coming from some random Twitter burner account. This is Jason LaCanfora at Sports Boom, reporting on Wednesday, April 29th, that an anonymous rival general manager in the NFL genuinely believes George Pickens can be traded out of Dallas. And not just that. This GM said word for word, if Pickens is the number one guy in a different offense, maybe he doesn't have to play out the tag 2 years in a row. That's what's going through his mind. Jerry isn't going to be excited about 2027 draft picks now, fam. Stop. Think about what that means. George Pickens, 25 years old, his last full season in Pittsburgh, 93 catches, 1,429 yards, 9 touchdowns, first career Pro Bowl, second team All-Pro. This man is operating in his prime, and Dallas has him locked under a franchise tag worth $27.3 million that he has not signed yet. You see the problem? Pickens does not want to be there. The Cowboys publicly say they're not trading him, but that anonymous GM is saying the real story is something else entirely, and that's exactly where the Washington Commanders walk through the door. Jaden Daniels is coming back from a nightmare season, 5-12, injuries, chaos. The front office spent over $256 million in free agency, but look at how that money was distributed. Almost all of it went to the defense and the receiver room heading into 2026. Terry McLaurin, who is still elite, praise be. Antonio Williams, the third-round rookie they just drafted. And after that, of veterans who need to prove they've still got something left in the tank. If Pickens lands in Washington, it changes the entire offensive equation. McLaurin threatening one side of the field, Pickens destroying the other. Defenses can't shade McLaurin. They can't double Pickens. And Jaden Daniels, with that kind of weaponry around him, man, this city hasn't seen an offense like that in decades. Now here's my take, my strong take, and I want you to debate me in the comments because I mean this. The Commanders need to go get George Pickens before July 15th. I know what you're going to say. It costs a first-rounder in 2027. Yeah, it does. And look, I could be wrong. The 2027 draft class could be loaded. You could get a receiver on a cost-controlled rookie deal for 5 years. All of that is true, but the 2026 season is right now. Jaden Daniels needs to win right now. Dan Quinn and Adam Peters need results right now. 5-12 last year already put a target on this regime's back. If they come out with another mediocre year and an anemic passing attack, the conversation in Washington shifts into a very uncomfortable direction very fast. Nobody wants that. Pickens is the kind of player that makes the Commanders a team opponents fear. Not a team that competes, a team that scares people. And that is the difference between a 10-win season and a 14-win season. Now we have to talk about Jerry Jones, because Jerry Jones just showed us something important. When the Eagles wanted Mekhi Lemon and traded up to pick 20, who sold them that pick? Jerry Jones, the same man who Al Davis told never to answer calls from division rivals, and Jones said publicly, I don't really pay much attention to who I'm talking to. You see what that means? If the price is right, Jerry deals with anyone, including Washington. And if Peters picks up that phone with a 2027 first-rounder plus a young player, that conversation gets started. The window is open. It will not be open forever. July 15th is the franchise tag extension deadline. After that, the market gets complicated. La Canfora flagged that window specifically. Peters, the ball is in your hands. The DMV is watching. Now, let me tell you about something that genuinely got me in my feelings, because there is a difference between a player who comes to Washington because it's the best offer and a player who comes to Washington because he actually believes in what's being built here. K'Lavon Chaisson is the second kind, and he's got video evidence. In what appeared to be a live stream from inside his car, Chaisson revealed that the New Orleans Saints put a reported $39 million offer on the table. $39 million, and he turned it down to come to Washington for $11 million on a one-year deal. I had to read that twice. Why? Listen to his exact words. With the Saints, I don't know what their offense is going to be like. With the Commanders, at least I know we're going to be in some kind of playoff race. That is everything. A player with real options and real money on the table chose Washington because he believes this team is going to compete. That is not a PR move. That is not the front office spinning a narrative. That is a man sitting in his car telling the world, I trust Dan Quinn. I trust this system. I want to be there when it matters. Now, let's break down what this means on the field, because it is not just a feel-good story. It is explosively important for this defense. Chaisson was the 20th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft by the Jaguars. It took him years to find his game, but in 2025 with the New England Patriots, he posted 7.5 sacks, career high, and in 4 postseason games, 16 pressures and 3 additional sacks. This man is arriving hot. Now put him next to Odafe Oweh. Next Gen Stats put out the numbers. Chaisson and Oweh combined for almost twice as many pressures in 2025 as any other player currently on the Commanders roster. That is a pass rush tandem that is going to make opposing quarterbacks' lives miserable. Add Joshua Josephs from the draft, Frankie Louvu returning to full-time linebacker under Durante Jones' new scheme, and suddenly, this defense looks nothing like what we saw last year. Bleacher Report's Gary Davenport called it straight. Getting a potential 10-sack edge rusher for $11 million is a steal. I'm not arguing with that. Chaisson chose Washington, not for the money, for the belief. And fam, that says more about the state of this franchise than any statistic I could throw at you. All right, let me cool down for a second and talk about something from the draft that has me genuinely excited. When the Commanders took Antonio Williams out of Clemson in the 3rd round, pick 71, some fans raised an eyebrow. That's it? A 3rd-round receiver? I get it, but hold on, because ESPN's Jeremy Fowler spoke to a national NFL scout this week, and that scout sent over a comparison that stopped me cold. Antonio Williams reminds him of Randall Cobb. For those who need a refresher on Cobb, he was one of the most complete slot receivers of his generation. Multiple 1,000-yard seasons, a Pro Bowl appearance with the Packers. Nearly 8,000 yards over 13 NFL seasons. Why the comparison? The scout explained that both players combine route detail with the ability to freelance within their routes. Both can line up in the slot or slide outside when the offense needs it. That flexibility, that positional versatility is exactly what a modern offensive coordinator needs to manufacture conflict against any defense. Williams started at Clemson from his true freshman year. That does not happen with average players. In 2024, he was a problem. He got hurt early in 2025 and never really found his rhythm again, which probably cost him multiple rounds on his draft grade. But the talent did not disappear. It just needed a clean opportunity. That clean opportunity is in Washington now. If Williams turns into half the player Randall Cobb was, the Commanders have a high-volume target for Jaden Daniels, who can attack the middle of the field, work short routes, generate yards after catch, and give JD a quick release valve when the pressure comes. That is exactly what was missing last season, and if he turns into the full version, raise hail. Look, right now is genuinely one of the most exciting times to be a Commanders fan in a long, long time. The draft is done, free agency is winding down, and there are still massive moves to be made. Pickens could be coming. The receiver room is being built piece by piece, and we've got men like Chaisson choosing Washington over the money. That is not a coincidence. That is culture. That is Dan Quinn. That is Adam Peters making this place matter again. Raise hail, Washington. Now tell me down in the comments, do you pay the 1st-round pick for George Pickens? That is the conversation I want to have with you right now. Drop your take, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one.